All right, and we're recording. Perfect. Okay, so we are Consumer Clipboard group number 14, professionally created by Evan Wydell.
Sandra.
But
And Dana.
All right, cool. So our consumer clipboard for this week is understanding drug side effects and interactions. So the outline for our presentation is going to be what are drugs, understanding drug facts, side effects, interactive effects, common drugs of abuse, California Good Samaritan Law, and monitoring the future.
Okay, to start off, we're going to define drugs, which are chemicals that can alter brain and body functions when introduced to the body. Drugs are both for medical and non-medical reasons. The pharmaceutical drugs are types of drugs that can obtain through a medical provider through a prescription, and off-the-counter drugs are just ones that are just available. Um, Health professionals will prescribe the drugs to treat the more major illnesses and diseases, or to like alleviate kind of a symptom for those, while off-the-counter drugs are used for minor symptoms like fevers, colds, and allergies. Both of these drugs can become illicit, which are dangerous either when you're making them illegally or selling them illegally, and just the use of them makes them illegal. Also, due to the drug's ability to alter consciousness, people will also use them in spiritual ceremonies, which is why I included it as the uses besides medical and recreational. Um, yeah, also a source of for people who's taking these are also the FDA's, because they are tested through that. Except for herbal medicines, the FDA tests them. They go through various rigorous testing before making them public. Yeah. Okay, so off-the-counter drugs will often have a label on the back of the packaging. So things to always watch out for are the active ingredients, directions, warnings, and for occasionally some side effects. The active ingredient is a more generic name of the brand, along with its purpose. Things to watch out for are the directions. Usually they do take them with a meal or sometimes without a meal. And the warnings are also the most things to watch out for, since people with certain diseases or illnesses must be careful when taking them, or just with taking them with other drugs as well, which is why it's also important to look at the active ingredient, that you don't take multiple medications with the same active ingredient. Um, and with any other just drugs, always good to get medical advice, especially if you're nursing or pregnant or trying to get pregnant, things like those. Dosage is also really important when looking at the drug facts, since it affects the interaction with the drug. Um, there have been drug-related deaths, often caused by errors for the prescribed medications. In 2001, researchers investigated 732 deaths, and among those deaths showed that half of those were due to avoidable drug-drug interactions and dosage errors. Um, Besides just the dosage, what determines the fact of it is like the characteristics of a person. So like their age, gender, weight, and mass, physical condition, mood, experience, and drug, and the expectations for the drug as well.
So kind of piggybacking off of that, table 10.1 in our textbook shows how drugs are taken. And ultimately, drugs can be taken by inhalation, injection, mucous membrane, and oral, like by mouth. So inhalation, it's one thing that is important to understand is like how quickly that the drugs can interact with our brain and everything, like how long it takes. So inhalation takes the shortest amount of time. It takes 7 to 10 seconds. Injection takes 13 to 30 seconds by IV, which is intravenously, so like a needle into a vein, or 3 to 5 minutes for intramuscular, kind of like a flu shot, like injecting into a muscle. The mucous membrane and mucous membranes, those are special kind of tissues, like parts of the body that have special cells that basically transfer like whatever components are on top of it or inside of it to the bloodstream like really quickly. And one of the most common or well-known versions of mucous membrane versions of taking drugs is snorting cocaine. But there are also anal and vaginal suppositories as well. And those are much less common. And that takes about 3 to 15 minutes. And then oral, which is taking it by mouth, as in like eating or drinking. And that could take about like 20 to 30 minutes. And that could be like eating an edible, like a THC edible, or like taking a Tylenol, or drinking alcohol. And something really quick to add in there is that, as we know, there are many different types of drugs that are out there, and some of them only have one method of, or one specific method of getting ingested into the body as efficiently as possible. But other ones have many different ways of ingesting it. And also, this link at the very bottom, this is a link from the FDA, and it's a little drug facts label, and it kind of helps guide consumers to how to read a drug facts label. So that's extremely important for anybody who is new to taking a specific type of medication or drug.
So side effects are undesirable secondary effects which occur in addition to the desired therapeutic effect of the drug or medication that you're taking. Side effects can happen either when you decrease or increase a dosage, or even starting or ending the use of a new drug or prescription. Lifestyle or dietary changes can actually help to minimize the side effects or minimize like your chances of getting them. And then the website that we give you, drugs.com, is great because you can actually search up basically any drug or medication, and it'll give you basically like a list of side effects and then what to avoid. More common side effects are upset stomach, headaches, and dizziness, and then more severe side effects, which may actually need immediate medical attention, are like chest pains or abdominal pains, blurred vision. But in the list of the side effects, they actually tell you which ones will need more immediate medical attention versus the ones that are more common and don't need immediate medical attention.
And also something too, that we want to provide like a resource for everybody is the drugs.com website. And I think that's it's a very valuable resource for anybody to use. You just type in like different types of drugs, and also they could also have side effects of not only drugs but also like ingredients like ginger root and stuff, which is really interesting. So yeah, so we have that link right down there.
And then interactive drugs are effects of drugs that occur when the combination of two or more drugs alters the medication effect on the body. So this can happen with drug interactions, drug with food or drinks, drugs with alcohol, and then drugs with your disease. The drugs.com website that we provided also has another page that you can search up multiple drugs, and it'll list the interactions of said drugs. So for example, if you looked up like anti-anxiety medication and like NyQuil or ZQuil, if you look those up, it'll shoot out just the interactions between those two drugs, and it'll rate them basically from their significance. So like minor, moderate, or major interactions with each other. But it definitely is important to look this up because you can be putting yourself at risk for more side effects, and ultimately you could possibly worsen your disease or your health in general.
Common drugs of abuse are usually classified as the following. Stimulants are drugs that speed up the activity in the brain and increase activity in the sympathetic nervous system. A commonly known example of this could be cocaine. Depressants slow down brain activity and sympathetic nervous systems. Examples are anti-anxiety drugs and GHB. Opioids are a natural and synthetic product harvested from a gummy substance in a seed pod of the opium poppy, also known as narcotics. Some example of opioids are morphine and heroin. Hallucinogens are drugs that alter perception and thinking in characteristic ways. They produce intensified and disordered visual and auditory perceptions and hallucinations. An example of hallucinogen drugs could be LSD. Inhalants are breathable chemical vapors that alter consciousness. Examples of this are paint thinners, gas, and glue. Lastly, cannabinoids are are a drug that suppress the processing system in the hippocampus, which has a negative effects on the respiratory system. An example is marijuana, which is derived from the hemp plant, in which hashish and is a resin that seeps from the leaves of the plant, and the active ingredient is THC. A good website to visit and learn more about the myths and facts about some of the drugs of abuse is the Texas University, which is shown at the bottom right corner.
So ultimately, it is important to know the differences between like the side effects and interactive effects. But when but also but when sorry, hold on a second. The reason why it's important to know about them is because just in case for like an emergency situation. So talking about the California Good Samaritan Law specifically. So the Good Samaritan Law is it's a law to protect people for helping others in emergency situations. And if they're in medical trouble, and that could be, you know, if they're overdosing or if they have like even like a sprained wrist or something like that, like a heart attack. Um, and the Good Samaritan law exists in several different states, I think, like Nebraska and Nevada or other states that have it. But specifically here in California, it is meant to encourage people um, to get involved and to help out. And it protects people against legal punishments. Um, and even if you're intoxicated and even if you're underage, if you still make an attempt to help somebody out, and if you call EMS services or like 911 and the authorities arrive, all you have to do is just comply with the services and you will not be punished, specifically because you attempted to help save a person's life. Um, for example, if you've seen the movie Pulp Fiction, there was a character in that movie who overdosed from heroin, and and her and a bunch of other good Samaritan. Well, technically she tried to save herself, but anyway, a bunch of other good Samaritans try to help her out, and they were all under the influence of some sort of like drug. And they did not call emergency services, which is not a good idea, but everything ended up being okay in the end. Spoiler alert. But um, ultimately, even if they did call emergency services, if that was, you know, today in like 2020, none of them would have been punished because they most likely would have complied with the authorities and they would have, you know, attempted to save somebody's life. Um, and it's really important to know the Good Samaritan law because a lot of people don't report a lot of drug overdoses and alcohol poisoning events and everything because they're worried about the legal ramifications and consequences on themselves and other people. So moral of that story is just it's better just to help out. And legally here in California, people who try to help out will be protected to an extent. And that's important to know um, for many things. And one of them is monitoring the future. And that's actually like a research lab at the University of Michigan. It's a longitudinal study from the University of Michigan and the National Institute of Drug Administration. It's been going on since 1975, and it assesses high schoolers and college students' attitudes on drug use. And it's an extremely important resource because it's been able to kind of show what has and has not been effective with educating the youth about drug use and educating people on the safer ways to use drugs, and if they decide that was the thing they want to do. But anyway, it provides a resource to look at the future projections of drug use in high schoolers and college students. And ultimately, I just want to conclude this presentation just saying we don't really condone drug misuse, but it's better to be educated and to understand like what you're putting into your body and what interactions it's going to have on your body, and also to understand and to be in a safe environment, to be around people you trust, and that counts for you being able to help them out when or if something bad happens, and vice versa. Like they would help other people out and stuff. So yeah, I just want to thank you all for watching our 5 million year long presentation, and here are our references, and thank you so much.